Good morning. Welcome to day 12 of our journey through Job. All right, today we are starting out round 3 of the arguments between Job and his friends. And in this chapter, today we're covering chapters 22, 23, and 24. So yeah, we're packaging them up here now. And in this round, we see the final speech of Eliphaz. And we see a portion of text that is often referred to as the crucifixion of Job. And so again, we see parallels between the story of Job and the story of Jesus. And so it's been a while since we've read significant portions of the text from the friends and their arguments. But I just want to read this because you'll see some of the parallels. You'll see the untruths. You'll see the story of Jesus in the accusations that Eliphaz makes today. And so we're in chapter 22, verse 6, and it says, "For you took collateral from your brothers without cause, stripping off their clothes and leaving them naked." Again, this is Eliphaz talking to Job. And we've heard who Job is, and we've heard what he's done, and we've heard his reputation, and we've heard what kind of man he was and is still in his community and how he treated others. And yet we hear Eliphaz making these claims. Verse 7, "You gave no water to the thirsty and withheld food from the famished." Untrue. Verse 8, "While the land belonged to a powerful man and an influential man lived in it, you sent widows away empty-handed, and the strength of the fatherless was crushed." And in this, we see claims that are completely contradictory to what we know about Job, what we've seen in his stories, what he did. They're just complete untruths, complete crucifixion of Job. And we see Jesus' story in it. And in these scriptures, in these verses, we hear "you must have." Not that there was any evidence, that there was any reason to say any of these things. It was a "you must have," based on a fear and an assumption that his friends were making based on their frustrations, that they could not convince Job to concede, to admit that he must have done some wrong. And so now we just have a complete crucifixion, regardless of the facts at hand, regardless of what we see and what testimonies have been made on your behalf. We are going to make these assumptions. We're not even having this discussion anymore. We have decided for you. And it's so difficult. And so that's why you see after this speech that they get shorter and shorter. And again, in this round 3, we don't even hear from Zophar anymore. He has stepped out of the conversation. He had nothing new to say. And so he basically had decided, had given a verdict, and had walked away from Job. So like Jesus, Job is accused of crimes he did not commit and of doing the exact opposite of the good that he did. But here's 2 things for today. In verses 11 and 12, Job knows who he is. Job knows who he is. So let's read that. Verses 11 and 12. It says, "My feet have followed in his tracks. I have kept to his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandments from his lips. I have treasured the words from his mouth more than my daily food." Job basically has to shut out those voices and remember who he is. And then in verse 14, Job knows who God is. So in these false claims, I have to say these words to myself, and I have to say these words of what I know about God. And he says in verse 14, "He will certainly accomplish what he has decreed for me. And he has made many more things like this in mind." He has many more things like this in mind. When you're faced with just ridiculous arguments in which there's no facts or truth founded, we have to remember who we are, and we have to know who God is. And when necessary, we need to say these words to ourselves. Job 11 and 12 in chapter 23 is something that I need to write down for myself. I have followed in God's tracks. I have kept to his way and not turned aside. So when I doubt, when I'm going through difficulty and I'm questioning, did I have a part in this? Did I contribute to this? And those are valid questions to ask. When I assess the situation and I see that there's no evidence contrary to me and to my intentions and to what I've actually demonstrated in my life, I need to be able to stand on the words that of the knowledge that I know about myself. My feet have followed in his tracks. I have kept to his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from his commandments. I have kept them on my lips. I have treasured the words from his mouth more than my daily food. And then who is God? Who is God? Because right now I don't see him. I'm too far from the shore, from where I came from to where I'm going. And I'm starting to doubt. I'm in the middle of the lake and things are getting a little rocky. I need to be able to say who God is. He will certainly accomplish what he has decreed for me, and he has many more things like these in mind. That's what I need to be able to say. What is that snippet of verbiage that you have, that when things go wrong, that when things get difficult, that when you feel like you might have lost your way in the middle of coming from where you came from and going to where you're going, can I have these words on my lips that I can remember, that I can recall, that I can remind myself, this is where I've been and this is what I've done, and here is how I've shown my faith, and here is how I've shown my love, and here is how I've conducted myself, and then this is who God is. So your reflection for today is this: how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself in comparison to how Job viewed himself? What is your testimony? What is it that you can say on your behalf? It's like the final closing argument, right? In this court case. Hey, Job, do you have anything else to say? Yes. My feet have followed in his tracks. I have kept his ways. I don't need to indulge in that conversation anymore. This is who I know I am, and this is who I know God is. How do you see God in comparison to how Job saw him? Do you see God as the one who will certainly accomplish what he has decreed for you, and that he has many, many more things like this in mind? I hope you do.